Hey everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to your 4th stimulus package and news update. We have a lot of news to cover in this video, but first, if you would like to receive one free stock from Robinhood just by opening an account, make sure to claim it by clicking my link, which you will find in the description box below. Okay, so with voting rights bills that Democrats hope to pass certainly now being dead, they now have to move on to alternative ideas such as making changes to the Electoral Count Act of 1887. This would be done on a more bipartisan basis, making it more likely to pass. This is still going to be a huge priority for Democrats, as yesterday Joe Biden made assertions that if we don't create new voting laws, then the upcoming midterm elections won't be legitimate. Here is the White House Press Secretary Jim Psaki attempting to clarify Biden's remarks about the upcoming elections and their possible legitimacy.
The questions about voting rights and the integrity of the election, you said the president's intention was not to cast doubt on the upcoming midterms, but when a reporter followed up, the president said to him, "I'm not saying it's going to be legit. The increase in the prospect of being illegitimate is in direct proportion to us not being able to get these reforms passed." So yes or no, does the president believe, if all remains as it is right now, that the elections this fall will be legitimate?
But what the point he was making is that as recently as 2020, as we know, the former president was trying to work with local officials to overturn the vote count and not have ballots counted. And we have to be very eyes wide open about that and clear-eyed that that is the intention potentially of him and certainly of members of his party.
So to be clear, the president is satisfied, even if, because yesterday obviously voting rights hit a wall in Congress right now without the votes for the filibuster rules to be changed, and given the conversation you just had about other avenues that could be taken, if there are no changes in terms of voting rights legislation going forward, the president does still feel confident that the elections this fall will be legitimate?
Yes.
As we quickly approach the end of January, we're now beginning to see more news on Build Back Better. Yesterday, Senator Joe Manchin said that once talks pick back up again, the spending plans would need to start from zero. Manchin told reporters that they would need to start with a clean sheet of paper and start over. He also noted that he doesn't currently have any scheduled talks with the White House, so no telling when those talks will take place. Also yesterday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi finally conceded that the Build Back Better bill may need to be scaled back.
The president indicated yesterday chunks of it could get passed, and I'm sure you heard what he said. I wonder what you think of that statement, and I have a couple of parts here. He said the child tax credit for community colleges might drop out, and just what should we expect when it comes to the BBB going forward?
Well, let me just say, chunks is an interesting word.
Not my word, that's what you said.
No. The president has such a commitment to the values that are contained in this legislation, the reconciliation bill. When we passed when they were considering and then later we passed the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the president said, I want to find as much common ground as I can in a bipartisan way when it comes to infrastructure. But I cannot limit my vision for America to what the Republicans will agree to in terms of roads and bridges, etc. That's important, but it's not all. So in this legislation, if we care about preserving the planet for future generations and clean air for them to breathe today and water to drink, we need to pass the reconciliation bill. So I would hope that that would be a major part of it. So what the president calls chunks, I would hope would be a major bill going forward. It may be more limited, but it is still significant. So we talked about climate. Now let's talk about health care. So important in the legislation is that millions more people will have access to health care at a very low cost because of what is in the bill in terms of expanding the Affordable Care Act. Let's now talk about child care. Child care in the bill, whether you're talking about the child tax credit, or you're talking about child care, or you're talking about home health care that might include a child, or an older sibling or a parent, or you're talking about universal pre-K. all of this lowers cost for care, and is transformative in the lives, especially of women in the workforce. So we have to have, if our economy is going to succeed, as you know, we say when women succeed, America succeeds. If we're going to have the full benefit of women and newcomers, and when I say newcomers, people of color who have not been in some of these traditional jobs, to expand what that means, we have to have care at home, whether it's for children or, again, older siblings or parents. So there are big chunks of the bill that have to be contained in the bill. But remember this, that this is a reconciliation bill. So when people say, let's divide it up, they don't understand the process. What can we agree upon? And I'm sure that we can agree upon something significant. Call it a chunk if you want, but whatever you call it, we want it to be able to make a difference in transforming the workplace by honoring work, by respecting the fact that there are families that have to make decisions between home and work, and again, protecting the planet. So I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic, yeah.
With the reality that Build Back Better will need to be scaled back, fully setting in for most Democrats, they'll now need to figure out where to go from here. Manchin already said he would be okay with spending around $500 billion on climate change measures, in addition to universal pre-K, but it's unclear what else he'll be willing to support. According to the White House press secretary, though, Biden still hopes to pass big chunks of Build Back Better through reconciliation.
The president talked about breaking up pieces of Build Back Better. I think I understood what he was trying to say there, but just for clarity for congressional process nerds, he's still talking about
We're in DC, it's a safe place. Lots of process nerds here.
scaling back a single reconciliation package, moving that forward, and then maybe voting on things that aren't in that package. Is that the context here?
Well, he wasn't necessarily dictating what the size would look like. He wants to get as big of a chunk as we can get done and through Congress. He also recognizes that nothing is going to get done without 50 votes. So we're not confronting a choice between what can happen in our ideal. It's a choice between, do we make critical progress for the economic well-being of middle-class families and in tackling climate crisis or not? So right now, it's determining how big that chunk can be through the reconciliation process, which, as you know, as a budget nerd, requires 50 votes. If you break different pieces apart, or as you continue to fight for anything that might not be in there, it would require 60 votes, of course. And if there's 10 Republicans who want to support efforts, of course, we'd welcome that. But he's talking about getting a big chunk, as much as you can get done, where we can get an agreement of 50 members of the Senate.
Another hurdle Democrats will need to get over is one dealing with state and local tax deductions. According to lawmakers in high tax states such as New Jersey, if changes aren't made to SALT to increase that deduction, then no matter what's in the package, there won't be a deal. So Democrats will now find themselves in a tough spot, being that some say raising the SALT deduction would clearly be a tax break for the rich. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, if you would like to receive one free stock from Robinhood just by opening an account, make sure to go ahead and claim it by clicking my link in the description box below. So once again, I do hope that everyone has a great and safe rest of their day. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.